Destiny 2 has some amazing exotic weapons. I mean, the Deathbringer is maybe my favorite exotic of all time. But many of the fan-favorite exotic weapons from Destiny 1 still haven't made their way back into Destiny 2, so I wanted to deep dive into a few of my personal favorites and see how they could potentially be brought back. The first curse was a 120 RPM hand cannon from Destiny 1 made by Tex Mechanica. This is the same foundry that created The Last Word. This thing is just beautiful in every way, and it would have been a really popular choice during the 120 RPM hand cannon meta that we had several months ago. The main perk automatically reloaded your magazine after your first precision kill, and then also gave you a bonus to range and stability until your next reload. It also gave a nice bonus to usability while you're aiming down sights, which is kind of like an opposite to The Last Word, which gets a bonus from hip firing. I really believe this gun would slot perfectly into the current sandbox without needing too many major changes. And it would also be a great addition because we currently only have one exotic hand cannon in the 120 RPM archetype, which is the Sturm. Next up is a rifle that was coveted by every sniper main in early Destiny 1. You might say that it required a bit of patience to get it to finally drop. Patience and Time was a sniper rifle with a unique perk that made the user go invisible after aiming down sights. You might be thinking, well, no big deal, every invisible hunter spammer who's using the Omni Oculus 24/7 is already invisible while they're sniping. And I'd have to agree with you. After dealing with the fallout of Void 3.0 invisible hunters everywhere, I think I'd want Bungie to reimagine the main perk of this old sniper. But what I'd want to see come back exactly the same as it was in Destiny 1 is the incredible sound that it made when it fired. Seriously, this is my favorite sounding sniper in all of Destiny history, and sometimes I would use it even though I didn't love the high zoom just because I wanted to hear that sweet sound when landing headshots. I think the Invis perk could be swapped for an exotic version of No Distractions, and it could retain the third eye from Destiny 1 so you can keep your radar up while you're aiming down sights. Maybe they could also give it the old Perfectionist perk from the Still Piercer in Destiny 1 where landing all of your precision kills would instantly reload the magazine. Perhaps the weapon that I'd want to see brought back most on this list is the reward from finishing the lengthy questline after beating the Crota's end raid. Necrochasm was one of the coolest weapons in Destiny 1 and it never really got its proper time to shine. When it first came out, it was considered pretty underwhelming by much of the community. Its exotic perk was essentially Firefly, but it substituted the normal explosion for the same effect that the cursed thralls make when they blow up. It was a 900 RPM auto rifle, which is an archetype that doesn't currently exist in Destiny 2 right now, and after spending so much time with SMGs over the past year or so, I'd really love to see what a 900 RPM auto rifle would feel like in Destiny 2. They'd have to figure out some way to differentiate them from the SMGs, but I think it'd be worth it if we could give Necrochasm a try in the modern sandbox. Since we're talking about one of the coolest raid weapons of all time, it only makes sense for this video to be sponsored by the most infamous mobile raiding game of all time, Raid Shadow Legends. Their aim is to bring the first truly console-level gaming experience to the convenience of your phone. This month, Raid has a non-stop schedule of special events and activities, including the Forge Pass Season 3. This features some amazing rewards, including a limited edition artifact set. Raid's also bringing out some new champions, along with some great champion skins for Madame Ceres. But that's not the biggest news to share. Later this month, Raid's giving everyone's favorite champion the upgrade he deserves. At long last, Death Knight is becoming a legendary champion. This is an awesome time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on screen, you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion Vergus, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon your awesome champions as soon as you get into the game. All of this treasure is going to be waiting for you right here. Thanks again to Raid for sponsoring, and let's get back into our list. Early Destiny 1 players will remember this predecessor to the Telesto as the most buggy gun in the game. Pocket Infinity was a fusion rifle that charged up a full typical fusion blast and then proceeded to empty the rest of the magazine in auto fire mode in just a matter of seconds. When it worked well, it was just insane in the Crucible. I was one of the lucky Guardians who got the Pocket Infinity bounty early in my Destiny career, and I still remember melting Guardians in the first ever Iron Banner events who had just no chance against it. I'm honestly not sure how this one could come back because part of its charm was basically reincarnated with how the Merciless works in Destiny 2. And Pocket Infinity was so buggy that I think Bungie's probably happy to just retire this one permanently. In Destiny 1, almost every sniper rifle required special ammo or heavy ammo to fire, but one rifle that resembled an elephant gun broke that rule. No Land Beyond was a sniper that occupied the primary ammo slot and therefore only required primary ammo to fire. The catch was that it cycled bullets incredibly slow. It was so slow that players even developed a sprint canceling method to speed up the animations between firing off rounds. No Land was mostly seen as a weapon just to be used for fun in early Destiny 1, but later on when special ammo was reduced in PvP, it actually became a fairly popular pick in Trials of Osiris, especially when paired with a sidearm to cover the closer angles. In Destiny 2, we have many snipers in both the kinetic and energy slots, so that novelty is definitely worn off, and we also have bows now that consume primary ammo and almost act like sniper rifles, but without the ability to typically one-hit kill. I'd love to see No Land come back in some format, but I'm not sure if a primary ammo sniper makes sense in the game anymore. After all, we've already seen the issues that Revoker created with nearly unlimited special ammo in Trials. Hopefully Bungie could come up with some cool way to bring this back though, because it's definitely one of my favorite looking snipers in Destiny history. Speaking of special weapons in the primary slot, Destiny 1 also featured a shotgun called the Universal Remote. Just like No Land, the main gimmick here was that you could run this primary ammo shotgun alongside another special weapon and have the classic Halo setup of Shoddy Sniper. These days, having a shotgun in either slot is really nothing special, but Universal Remote had such a cool aesthetic, I'd love to see Bungie bring it back in some capacity. The scope on the Universal Remote was such a unique feature on a shotgun. I could see it potentially having some effect like Duality, where maybe it gets substantially improved performance from aiming down sights. In Destiny 2, Tommy's matchbook gains bonus damage while eating away at your own health after it overheats, but this wasn't the first time a weapon dealt self-damage in Destiny's history. The raid exotic weapon from the King's Fall raid featured a similar trade-off. Once you empty the magazine on Touch of Malice down to the final bullet, you would start dealing some crazy bonus damage, but each shot ate away at your health. And unlike Tommy's matchbook, this gun would actually kill you if you didn't pay attention to how low your health was getting. In Destiny 1, this made Touch of Malice an especially dangerous weapon to use in many situations, but in Destiny 2 we have so many sources of healing now that I think the gun would instantly become a top pick in many PvE situations. With healing rifts and wells, and healing grenades and restoration perks, the self-damage inflicted by Touch of Malice would be so much easier to manage these days. One of my favorite fusions in Destiny 1 had a perk that was ripped off to be used by many legendary weapons in Destiny 2. Plan C had a similar function to the modern backup plan perk that we have today, except unlike the nerf version of backup plan that we have now that reduces your damage, the original Plan C dealt full damage in just fractions of a second. This was an amazing perk because you could run around with your primary weapon out and then quickly swap to the Plan C and melt any enemy in an instant without the typical charge up time required by other fusion rifles. I think Plan C could come back with this unnerfed version of backup plan and be a potent contender in the modern Crucible. Without a doubt, it was an awesome looking fusion, and your enemies definitely don't want to get anywhere near those spikes. One of the most interesting exotic scout rifles from Destiny 1 actually used to be a Warlock exclusive weapon. Tlaloc performed like a typical scout rifle until you had your super fully charged. At this point, the gun would gain a massive boost to usability and rate of fire until you spent that super. I think this could be a really interesting option in Destiny 2 with many of the supers that aren't so great. Even after the changes with Void 3.0, I think I would happily sit on a tether with my hunter if it meant that my primary weapon could out-TTK anything else from that range. The Aegis Scepter Catalyst gives a similar trade-off opportunity in Destiny 2, and I would love to see them make more weapons to give an alternate use for that super bar. Dragon's Breath was a rocket launcher from Destiny 1 that literally set your enemies on fire. I'm honestly kinda surprised we didn't see this one added back to the game with the recent Solar 3.0 update. To me, it would have fit right into the game with all the other solar burning abilities in the new Scorch system. This is an awesome looking heavy weapon that could dish out some serious boss damage in Destiny 1, and I'd love to see it added to Destiny 2 to give us more options in the heavy weapon department. The weapon most known for cheesing basically any encounter back in Destiny 1 was the Icebreaker. If you could find any small safe space in a boss fight during Destiny 1, it was a pretty sure thing that you'd be plinking away at the boss's health with the Icebreaker. This was because it was one of only 2 weapons that automatically regenerated its own ammo. This made the Icebreaker not only a staple for endgame PvE activities, but it also became a big problem in Trials of Osiris later when Bungie took away our special ammo. We've recently seen the same trends in Destiny 2 where special ammo is becoming more scarce, and I don't think Bungie's likely to introduce another weapon that provides special ammo generation for free. We definitely don't need another Revoker situation. A big part of me thinks the Icebreaker should just stay put in Destiny 1 and be remembered as the gun that was so good it could cheese basically any encounter, but if they did want to bring it over to Destiny 2, I think there's a good opportunity to reimagine how it works to be more true to its name. With the stasis element being added to Destiny, it would be really cool to see the sniper turn into an actual Icebreaker where it could deal bonus damage to targets who are frozen by stasis. This would make for some really interesting team play setups in PvE and hopefully not break PvP like it did in Destiny 1. The other famous weapon that generated its own special ammo in Destiny 1 was Invective. Instead of generating one bullet at a time like the Icebreaker, Invective would generate an entire magazine all at once. I always loved the look of the shotgun, and although it wasn't the best PvP option compared to some of the sniper rifles out there like the Fellwinter's Lie, I always thought it was really fun to use. I'd love to see this gun be brought forward into Destiny 2, but with a reworked exotic perk that didn't generate ammo. I was thinking perhaps they could do something similar to my Icebreaker idea of being effective against stasis, where Invective could have some interaction with the next elemental type that Bungie introduces to Destiny. I know many of you watching probably love Crimson, but I have to be honest, it just doesn't do it for me like the original Red Death. This was one of the very first exotic weapons that I got in Destiny 1, and it's been a long time favorite of mine. I just love the aesthetics, the sound, and how you can go on some crazy kill sprees by healing and reloading faster after every kill. I guess Crimson has now stolen a lot of that thunder, but with pulse rifles being pretty popular choices these days, I'd absolutely love to try out Red Death once again in the modern sandbox. To the 80% of you who enjoy watching my videos but haven't yet subscribed, please consider hitting that button. It's free to do and it helps me out way more than you might think. And if you're already subscribed, I really appreciate you. Up next, I'd recommend my video on old raid weapons that could be added to Destiny 2. It's the one on the top right of your screen and also linked in the description.